When I released my first book, I remember thinking very heavily about Elon Harris and how he did it, how he managed to reach millions of people around the world through his work, and how I would do it. His readers became my readers. I write because it's my passion. I write with black people on my mind and black gay men in my heart. Toni Morrison gave me the courage to say that out loud.
Yes, I can write about white people. White people can write about black people. Anything can happen in art. There are no boundaries there.
I could write about anything, anyone, but I choose to write about our experience.
And I've spent my entire writing life trying to make sure that the white gaze was not the dominant one in any of my books.
Book of Jewels is my love letter to black people.
It has nothing to do with who reads the books. Everyone, I hope, of any race, any gender, any country.
Book of Jewels is 11 of the biggest life lessons that I've learned to date, and the stories behind those lessons. Book of Jewels is available now on Audible, all e-readers, and Amazon.com. Visit www.craigthewriterstewart.com for more information. SayItInACard.com is an online greeting card company that caters to every single occasion, and we deliver right to your front door. Visit us today, www.sayItInACard.com. If you feel it, we say it in a card. We have breakup cards, troubled relationship cards, friendship cards, sympathy cards, and of course all of the traditional cards as well, from birthday to holiday. So again, visit us at www.sayItInACard.com. Free shipping for a limited time. Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig the Writer Stewart, and this is So Much to Say. These are my thoughts and my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. Speaking of gay shit, I have my friend Ryan in the car.
That is so shady. That is so shady.
Right. Okay, so this is actually going to be my second podcast that I'm recording in the car. Ryan and I, we see each other pretty regularly, but we've been having a difficult time trying to lock down this podcast. But we're running around. We're about to run some errands, and so we're going to have this podcast in the car. So just ignore me. I'm going to go ahead and ask for your forgiveness in advance if you hear me cursing, because of moments of road rage, those kinds of things, because I tend to kind of act out.
And y'all pray for me while he's driving.
Because this is your first time in the car with me.
I'm scared.
Okay, now which way do I turn to get to? Where should we go first?
Left.
Should we go where first?
Let's go the furthest and then work our way
Okay,
back.
so Home Goods first?
That is correct.
Okay. I may cut that out of here because Home Goods is not paying me to promote them. So I may
We're
cut
go to the goods that have home product.
Right. Okay. This is very personal work for me. Politics. I believe I was called to tell my story, use my voice, be a voice for the community, to speak to and for a community of people that's been ignored, denied, overlooked.
Religion.
This is my life's work.
Religion.
I want to use words to uplift, heal, inspire, encourage.
Do something different. Every Monday at 10.
But, before we get into this podcast, I want to go ahead and encourage you guys. Now, Ryan, don't forget to tell me where I'm going now.
Okay.
I want to encourage you guys to go over to craigthewriterstewart.com because I have an upcoming book tour for Book of Jewels. It's my fourth book. If you don't know already, yes, I released my fourth book. I've been working on this baby for about 7-8 years, off and on, because, I've been on book tours and that kind of thing. But at any rate, I'm going to Philadelphia, I'll be in Baltimore, I'll be in DC, I'll be in Norfolk, Virginia, I'll be in Atlanta, I'll be in Houston. Those are the initial dates. We're still adding dates. I still plan on coming to the Carolinas, to Chicago, and all those other places, New York. So please just take a look at craigthewriterstewart.com, click on the tour button at the top, and if you haven't purchased your copy of any of the books, you can do that now from the website. Do I need to turn the heat down?
I mean, it feels like hell.
The heat is on hell. Switch it down to...
Why do you have it on hell?
Okay, but anyway, we're going to have this conversation. Like, the last time Ryan and I were together, we were talking about relationship stuff, and we were talking about previous relationships. At least I was talking about previous relationships and things that I've done in past relationships that I would not do again going forward. And in particular, I was talking about financial intimacy. Is that new jewelry you have on?
No.
I don't remember seeing those bracelets. See, this is the difference.
The subject of what we're talking.
I know, but see, we're in the car, and so I'm just really getting to look at you and observe you. But
Focus.
we were talking about financial intimacy, and here's what I was saying to Ryan before, because we were talking about dating and getting to know someone, and just the different levels of getting to know someone, and being comfortable to say, well, can you give me or loan me $100? Like if you don't have the capacity to say, can I borrow or can I hold, or I'm a little short, you know what I'm saying? Because when you're in a relationship and you start dating, vacations start to come up, or dinner dates start to come up, you know, and you have to be able to have that kind of an open dialogue with your partner to be able to say, well, I don't really have it right now, or I'm working on this. Do you think you can spot me such and such? And it's really troubling for a lot of people. A lot of people can't ask. And I used to be that person.
I still am.
Yeah. And so that
pride.
It's called pride. Mm-hmm. It's called pride. But what I was saying to Ryan before was what I was saying to you before. If you don't have the capacity to be able to say, well, hey, babe, can you let me hold $300 because, you know, some stuff came up in my family, or I got to do this, that, and the third, whatever the case is. If you can't say that, then you shouldn't be comfortable enough to be engaging in something as personal as sex. And so for me, I've said,
but sex is a whole nother topic.
Why isn't it? Why is it, rather?
We're talking about me asking you for $50 compared to me saying, hey, I'm horny, let's get ready.
Well, first of all, you're not probably going to say, hey, I'm horny. You're probably just going to go ahead and do it. But,
right.
But my thing is, how is that different from you engaging in conversations around sex that are just as intimate? Like saying, hey, have you been tested for HIV? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I hate to say this, but it's like, as a man, I don't want to ask you, can I borrow $50? But
I think that's a part of being in a relationship. Like being able to merge. And I'm not saying you got to have joint accounts. Go ahead and say it. Don't be scratching. Don't be tapping on the back of your hand talking about that's black people. No. Go ahead and say it.
I mean, it is.
What is it? Say it.
I mean, you would never, honestly.
Am I going forward?
Please keep going straight.
Okay.
I don't even think a black, white man or whatever race is going to sit there and ask their partner, hey, let me borrow $50.
Why not?
Because if I can't get it myself, then I don't need it.
No. I think that's a part of partnership.
Even like my pastor said, if I didn't have it to like not get back, I shouldn't have gave it away in the first place.
But that's different. That's different. You're now talking about borrowing.
No, but I'm saying like as somebody, okay, you said, let's say something came up, whatever, right? I had to give something to my parents or something like that. Mm-hmm. If I didn't have it to where I can't get it back, I probably shouldn't have gave it out in the first place.
But what I'm saying is, let's just say you're in a relationship with someone. You've graduated from the dating point to her butt hanging all out of her. She's riding on the bike and her whole ass is just kind of hanging out, spilling outside of the jeans. But I digress. But you've graduated from the dating point to a relationship. Mm-hmm. And you don't have the capacity to say, listen, I had to get brand new tires on my car, or I just had to have work done on the car, or whatever the case is. Things come up. And you can't say, well, hey, can I, do you have an extra $200? Or can I borrow it? Can I have it? Whatever you're going to say. But if you can't even put your lips together to say that, then I just feel like that's a problem. And again, I was that person, and that's what I'm saying. Like for me, I was in a relationship with someone, this was many years ago, and I was in a very, very precarious financial position. And he was doing very well. He was doing very well. And at the time, I used to think that it was really selfish of him to not say, well, Craig, here's, $200 or $100 because I know you're... I just almost thought he was supposed to read my mind. That was selfish of me. And I look back now and I just realized that, no, I should have had the maturity to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm going through a tough time right now. Do you think you can help me with this, that, and the third? But I didn't. And I just feel like moving forward, if I'm going to get into a relationship with someone, I should have that level of financial intimacy where we can talk about money. Because it wasn't even just, the last time you and I were talking, it wasn't even just about being able to ask for money. It's also about when you graduate to the point that you're moving in together. How the hell do you move in with somebody and you don't know how much they make and they don't know how much you make? You don't even know how much you can afford. And I've done that. And what I'm saying is I will never do that again. If I move in with somebody again, I need to know what you make and you need to know what I make. Because how can we move into a place and know what we can afford if we don't know what the other person makes?
I feel as though you can say, this is what I can afford in a house without staying this way. Without saying, hey, this is how much I make. Because I feel like there's still something.
Then that's not partnership.
I don't agree with that, Greg.
I'm listening. Convince me.
I can tell you right now, if we're gonna find a place, I can do about $1,500 a month.
But how do I know? But how do I know you can afford that? Maybe you're not good with money, and you think you can afford $1,500, and you're not gonna pull me into a lease or into a mortgage, and then we get in there and you really are overspending or living above your means, or you're anticipating that I'm gonna be able to bail you out. Why? What is it? Why are you trying to covet your earnings? Like, if I'm your partner, if I'm laying in the bed with you every night and I'm putting my dick in you,
why does it always go back to sex?
I'm just saying, we can do all of those things, but I can't know how much you make on your paycheck.
Because then you also have to think about, what about, let's say I tell you I can give you $1,500 for, mortgage, gas, and X, Y, and Z. Then I tell you how much I actually make, and you say, you know what, Ryan? I feel like you can do about a good $1,900.
Well, but see, that's where the conversation comes in. Because see, what you're not gonna do is tell me what you can afford. And listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Because here's the part of the conversation.
This is where I feel comfortable. $1,500.
First of all, you haven't told me why it's uncomfortable for you to talk to your partner about how much you make. Let's start with that, because you shifted.
I know. It's just it goes back to pride. I feel like not like I'm hiding something.
What?
I just feel like I don't feel like I should tell you what my annual salary is.
Why? What is it something that you're ashamed of?
No, it just feels like, I don't know.
But how do you grow with somebody if you can't? Like, I don't know if we can vacation. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the point of this conversation too was when I was like 22 or 3, I had a friend, one of my good friends, was dating a guy that was older than us. He was probably about 10 years older than us, right? Mm-hmm. And as I was explaining to you before, we're just gonna make up some names. So my friend, his name was Kevin, and he was my age. We were both like 22, 23. He was dating a guy named Rick, who was 30. Well, Kevin and Rick met because Rick, the 30-year-old, was dating a guy, and they had been together, who was also his age. They were dating a guy. He was dating a guy at one point. They broke up. Mm-hmm. So when Rick and the guy that he was dating broke up, my friend Kevin and Rick got together. So they only dated for 4 months. Rick ended up getting back with his ex. So the reason that I met Rick was because he was dating my friend Kevin during the time that he and his ex had broken up. Mm-hmm. Well, they ended up getting back together. Mm-hmm. And I'm still friends with Rick to this day. He's still, like I said, he's like 10, 12 years older than I am. And Rick has a really great job. He works in banking, but his partner does even better. His partner is a judge. And I remember many years ago, I asked him, I said, how do you guys do it? Because I was really curious, like, how to partner with someone on a financial level. And he said, well, clearly, he makes more than I do because his partner is a judge. He said he makes more than I do. So what we do is we take 45% of his check, and we take about 25% of my check. And we put it into a joint account. In that account, we pay all of our bills. The mortgage, We pay our cell phone bills because we're on the same account. We pay the car insurance. We pay the car payment. You know what I'm saying? They pay all of the groceries. But then whatever's left in your check, you can put in your savings account to do what you're going to do with it. He said, because when Christmas comes around or birthday comes around, you need to go into your account and buy my birthday gift. And I need to go into my account to buy your Christmas gift. We're not pulling that from the joint account. So you still have your own money, but you pool your money. But because one person is always going to make more than the other, you have to figure out a system of how you're going to pay for it. So it made me think about past relationships. And I have lived with at least 2-3 different people in all of my gay years.
And did not know how
And I did not know how much they made. But see, the thing is, they always moved into my place. I moved into one person's place. That was the one that I said was doing really well. And I'm not going to tell you his profession because I don't want anybody to be trying to figure out who it was.
Google.
Well, if you read my first book, you know.
I said people going to Google.
Right. But I moved into his place. That was the only time I had moved into someone's place. All of the other instances, they had moved into my place. But still, I didn't know what they made.
Do you feel like it would have made a difference in your relationship if you would have known how much they made?
Yes.
What would have changed?
Well, for example, considering all what I do, you know, I started a greeting card business. You know, now I'm publishing books and that kind of thing. Like, you really don't know what kind of support you can get from your partner if you don't know what they make. You don't know how you can, you understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what you can afford in terms of a home. You don't know what you can do in terms of vacationing. Like, if you're not connected in a financial way, like, because that's when you get into really building a life with somebody. How can you really build a life with somebody and you don't know what their financial reach is or their financial capability is, or even yours? Like, they don't know what you can afford. Are you really connected? And again, I'm not saying you have to have a joint bank account, but you should at least know, you should have some sort of a system in place.
Because it's almost like if you know how much I make, then it's almost like you probably can determine, well, you probably shouldn't have bought them Chanel shoes, or, you know, you probably shouldn't have paid for X, Y, and Z. You know, it's almost like you're trying to tell me you can be at that point, get in this like, what you should buy, what you shouldn't buy, what you can afford, what you can't, you know? I feel like there's something, maybe it's just a man thing in me. It's something to where it's got to be something left to where it's just I know and me only.
But even in terms of heterosexual relationships, like I was saying to you before, that I remember, and I think this is part of how I'm different, you know what I'm saying, like in the way that I approach relationships, because my parents were together, and your parents were still together, but my parents were together for my foundation years, my primary years, right? And so that's what I know. Like, I am clear of how they partner. I'm clear of what partnership looks like. I remember going upstairs, you know, running upstairs to go into my parents' room to ask them for something, or to ask them if I could go outside or whatever it was. And I remember getting to the top of those stairs right outside of their bedroom. And I remember my mother lying across the bed with bills sprawled across the bed, you know, and my father would be sitting in the rocking chair next to the bed, and they would be sitting there discussing what bills they were paying. You know what I'm saying? Like he would literally come home, he would bring her the check, and they would go through which bills they were going to take care of, you know. And I remember running up to the top of the stairs and trying to ask them for whatever. My mother would be like, hold up. We're busy right now. We'll be downstairs in a minute. We need to take care of, you know, they were handling bills. And my thing is, you can't really truly partner, I don't think, if you can't even really move together. Like, you don't know what your power is as a couple. You don't know what your financial power is. So if we're together and I need to go and get a new car, or you need to go and get a new car, like, we can't even discuss that. So, like, everything is going to be separate. Like, your car insurance is going to be separate. My car insurance is going to be separate. So basically, we're just roommates. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
No. I mean, I get that at some point there has to be, like...
So that's what I'm asking. What point is that?
Before we move in together.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But it seemed like you want to know, like, when we start getting serious.
That's not what I said. I said before we can move in, before I can move in with anybody else moving forward.
I said
before I move in.
Sex.
No. That's not what I said. I said if you can have sex, then you should be able to have conversations around finances too. And
So
I said,
when do you think you should have this conversation?
well, if you're starting to talk about moving in together, because I've also moved in with people because of circumstances, not because the relationship was ready to graduate to the next level. You understand what I'm saying? I've moved in, and I'm sure some of you listening have this experience and know exactly what I'm talking about. You didn't move in because you were just so in love with that person, or they were so in love with you. You were fond of them, and yes, you were in a relationship and you were in it, but the relationship hadn't gotten to the point where you were ready to graduate to living together. But because your finances were off, or because you lost your job, or the person that you were dating lost their job, or because you were always spending the night over here anyway, and it just makes more sense for us to just pay one rent. Fuck that. If the relationship has not graduated to that point, you need to stay your ass where you live and let me stay where I live.
Well, let's talk in our lifestyle, because in our
first of all, let me help you. Lifestyle is I'm pescatarian. Being gay is not a lifestyle. I choose to be pescatarian. I don't choose to be gay.
Okay,
go ahead.
But you know that's what the term means.
I know, but it's about changing hearts and minds in conversation.
Which is true.
Well, go ahead.
But we always move really, really fast.
And so do the lesbians.
Right, but we move really, really fast. So if you move in with me in 3 months, I don't feel like I should be telling you my annual salary.
Well, then maybe the conversation should shift to, well, why are you moving in 3 months?
Because your stuff is always here. You're always here.
No. You need, see, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Always happens.
No, you need to stay your ass where you are. And we need to take this gradually. There's something really sweet about gradual. That's a line in the new book of Jules. There's something really sweet about gradual. But see, we want everything now and yesterday. That's also a line from the book.
But sometimes the wheels are just turning, and sometimes you can't slow them down.
Oh,
How
yes,
do you
can.
slow them down?
Oh, you can slow them down.
Yeah.
You pump the brakes and say, no, you live over there and I'm going to live over here. Because if we're not ready to have financial intimacy, then we're really not ready to move to that level. That's just from me, like moving forward. Because
So do you need to know what credit cards I have, how much my balance is on these credit cards?
We need to at some point get to a point. I need to know what your credit is. I need to know what your credit score is. You need to know what mine is. Again, how do we know what our financial power is together? Like, we can never even buy a house together. Fuck that. Fuck buying a house. We can't even move into an apartment. We get there and I get approved and you don't get approved. You would have known that and would have saved yourself the embarrassment had you had that conversation before you went into that leasing office. So then, in other words, I'm going to come move into your house because your shit is fucked up, your credit is fucked up, or my credit is fucked up, so I'm going to come live with you?
Doesn't that seem like that's how it always happens?
But see, that's what I'm saying. Moving forward, because I've been in this situation, same character, same relationship that I was telling you guys about a moment ago. I moved in with one person who's it was their place. In every other situation, it was my place. But in that particular instance, it was a condo, and there were certain things that made me feel inadequate. Because, one, it was his house. First of all, starting off, it's his place. Even though I was there to help pick out the furniture, even though I was there to help pick out the paint colors, we painted together. But it was a condominium, so he only had one parking space. His car was in that parking space. I parked in visitor parking. Now, that was not his doing, but I felt the way about that.
So did you feel like your car should have been parked in the house?
No, I felt like I should have had a parking space too. Like, why the fuck am I parking in visitor parking?
Why are you cursing?
I guess because it still stings a little bit. But even beyond that, it was like, there was not even enough closet space for me. Like, my clothes were folded up, in a corner in the house. Like, it wasn't really enough dresser space for me. And then when he got a closet system, it was just enough room for his stuff. He didn't even make room for my stuff. So I felt the way.
He really didn't open.
Correct. And then when it came to, like, his finance, like, he didn't want me to know how much he made. Like, I remember I'm like, why are you hiding it? Like, why is that such a secret? Like, I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying?
You turn it right where that silver truck is.
Oh, okay. So, I kind of felt the way about it. So it just never really felt like we were in a full-on relationship. I never really felt like we were really in it to go the distance. Yeah, and so go ahead.
So, I mean, I don't know. It is like at some point you could be madly in love with this person, right? So you're madly in love with this person, and you're spending the night over his house, and he spend a night over your house, and then you guys decide that you're gonna you go ahead and move into my house, right? Mm-hmm. So before you move into my house, let's discuss your finances before you move into my house. Or are we discussing finance once we get into our own house together? Are we like, if I'm coming to live with you and I'm coming to help you pay like half your mortgage, do you need to know how much money I make right then? Or when we go buy our own house together, is that when you need to know?
I think it's more of a thing if we're going to buy something together. If I'm already in my house, clearly I'm paying for my own shit already. So I could just say to you, okay, well, we can sit and have a conversation about how much you can contribute. And we agree on that. I don't necessarily need to know at that point. But if we're going to move from there to move into something that's ours, I have to know what you make.
Because this shit,
you need to know what I make.
I've been paying all my bills and it's been perfectly fine. You know, but you asked me to come and move in here.
But then what happens if I say to you, let's take a trip to Brazil? You can't come to Brazil if you ain't making enough money. So then I need to know that I need to pay for your Brazil. Or at least pick up a bigger portion of it. Like, I can't even plan with you because I don't know what you make.
I can see that point.
You know, and so going back to the relationship that I was saying that I had. Oh, hold on, everybody. There's an engine behind us revving up. But I really didn't feel like it was my home. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because of where my clothes were. I didn't know how much he made, and he made a big deal about it. And then even down to the voicemail, I remember at the time, like, cell phones weren't really what they are now. Like, they were still, people were still walking around with them every day. But most people still had a home phone. Mm. And so at the time, I was looking for a job, and I was putting my resume out, and I had the home phone on my resume, not my cell phone, because people still relied on their home phones at the time. And I was living with him, and I had his home phone on there, and there was a job that called me, and he forgot to tell me about it. He told me 2 days later. And I was just like, well, just give me the voicemail. I said, because, you know what I mean? Like, I could have lost the job. I can't remember if I did miss out on that job or not. But I was just like, give me the voicemail code so I can check it. He did not want me to have the voicemail code for the home phone. So it was like all of those things. It was like an amalgamation of things that kind of, caused me to feel like it wasn't my house. And I remember I would be out with friends, or we would all be out together or whatever. And I would say, well, I'm going to his house. And one of my friends was like, why you keep saying you're going to his house? You going home. And I remember he and I had a conversation. I said, because this doesn't feel like my house. Like, I don't feel like this house belongs to me, or like it's equally mine too. Mm. You know what I mean? And that can really create some deep-seated stuff in your relationship. Mm-hmm. All because you haven't had conversations around finances.
Finances, I mean, even in friendship, finances is a sticky subject, But
what do you mean?
I mean, even when you talk about you go out to eat, or, I don't have that problem, but I've seen many of friendships, when they borrow money or things like that. Money is always a sticky subject. I don't care what relationship it is.
Well, fortunately,
coworker.
Yeah, but see, I haven't had that problem with people trying to borrow money from me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had people borrow money from me before. Like, one of my friends in particular, he'll borrow periodically. It's not often, but I've never had a reservation about loaning him money. First of all, I've known him for years, and that means nothing, because those are sometimes the ones that will fuck you over the quickest, because, they've known you so long. But no, because I've never had an issue with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he's borrowed money from me, he's always giving it back. And he always gives it back in the time frame that he said he's going to give it back. But I don't really get into loaning money out to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a couple friends that will periodically ask, but again, they're very independent, they're very self-sufficient, and they take care of themselves. And in instances where I've borrowed money, I've only borrowed from those same people. Like, I don't get to borrow from a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And because it can be sticky. You know what I mean? You end up asking for your money back if they don't give you your shit. Because I had a friend that, and we know them in common, we used to come to your boot camp.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, I'm certain you know. And I remember I had just put out my first book, and I wasn't working, and the books weren't really selling at that time. It was brand new. Mm-hmm. And I remember him borrowing money from me, and he said, I'll give it back to you in like 2 weeks. Well, a month later, I had to ask him for my money because I had a book signing coming up, and I needed to purchase more books. I needed to print more books to have available at the signing. And I'll never forget, he said to me, well, I don't have it right now. I borrowed money from such and such, and before I borrowed from you, and I got to give them their money back first. Mm-mm. And I said, I don't give a damn who you borrow money from. That ain't got shit to do with me. You understand? So it became that, and then it became a thing of, well, it ain't my fault you don't work a job. I said, well, bitch, I ain't borrowed money from you. You borrowed from me. What you mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I got enough to cover what I'm doing. I was trying to do you a favor. I said, but you know what? Trust and believe. You can never ask me for money again. And I meant that. So, I mean, I don't really get into, people borrowing money. And like I said, I have a couple people that I borrow from, and I have those same couple people will borrow from me. Rarely, though. It's like every third blue moon. But those are the only people that I really kind of get into all of that with.
I ain't borrowed money in a long time, and the last time, I'd rather ask my daddy.
Right. I'd rather go to family.
What was that?
There was some little string hanging on you just there. All right, well, I think that's all we're going to say about this topic. We clearly have two different points of view.
And I like my point of view.
So you mean to tell me you're just going to be in a relationship with somebody and you never really get to...
I feel like once we start talking about marriage, you can know everything.
Marriage? Mm-hmm. You can't have the conversation until you get to marriage? Mm-hmm. How do I know I want to marry you until...
I ain't buying no house with you if we ain't getting married.
But how do I know I want to marry you before knowing that your credit and your financial wellness isn't in order?
So my financial wellness is going to keep you from marrying me?
It could be. I thought you loved it. It could prolong it. It could prolong. No, we need to stay. You live where you live. I live where I live. And, until you get your financial responsibility up to snuff. Until you get your shit in order. Mm. But here's what I said the last time you and I had this conversation too. One of the things that I think is dramatically different about our relationships, and I mean black gay relationships versus white, and I can't really speak intelligently about theirs because I don't really know. I've not dated white men. I've not really moved in those circles. But just from an optics point of view, just from looking, from a distance, it really does seem like they figured that part out in terms of buying homes together or starting a business together. Like they seem to have that financial component. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll move into a place, just for the purpose of starting a business, or one of them going back to school, and you know what I mean? Early in the game. And that's one of those things that I think that we could really learn from. But part of the reason that I think that black gay men struggle with that, and it's not even something that just black gay men struggle with. I think black women struggle with that with black men, in relationships with black men. Because the parallel is, and I've said this before, black gay men and black women have one thing in common. And a lot of times we think that it's just that we all love shopping, or we all love hair and makeup, and which I don't give a damn about hair and makeup. I'm not that gay guy that cares about hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff. But I think the thing that really binds us is our experiences dating and loving black men. That's the thing that really connects us. You know what I'm saying? We have similar heartaches, similar disappointments, similar setbacks. You know what I'm saying? We have those same experiences. But I think the challenge is that we have, and black women have, with dating black men, is that most black men, gay, straight, bisexual, or whatever, were raised in a single woman household, a single parent household. So they didn't have a demonstration of what it looks like to have a two-parent relationship, or to see partnership, period. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of us, you and I being an exception, because, your parents were together for years, my parents were together for years during my primary years. Many black men, straight or gay, didn't have that experience. They were raised by their aunt, they were raised by a grandmother, they were raised by a godmother, or whomever.
Primary years, I have to remember that.
During the primary years. Those foundation years.
Primary years.
Because that sets the tone.
Yeah, my mother paid all the bills, and my daddy just put all the money in a bank account. They both work, but... Right.
And so we don't really have a demonstration. We don't really have anything to emulate, a lot of us. And I think that's a part of one of my challenges in terms of getting into relationships, because I see relationships as a partnership. I see relationships as the place that we go to learn and grow. And if you're not willing to learn and grow, Book of Jewels. If you're not willing to learn and grow, then a relationship is not where you need to be.
I agree. I feel like I'm at that point now.
That you're ready to learn and grow?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be teachable. You have to be teachable in order to be in a relationship, a healthy relationship, a successful relationship. Because you have to be open to somebody showing you and saying, you know what, Ryan, you tend to do this. Or, you know, and then he has to be teachable and to be able to accept it from you too. Because your stuff is going to come up, huh?
Partnership.
Absolutely. Because your stuff is going to come up. My stuff is going to come up. Even in the situation that I was in, you know, recently, he didn't like when I pointed out certain things. But your shit is going to come up. My shit's going to come up. Your shit. And you have to be open to allowing the person that you're dating or in a relationship with to point that out. That's the only way that you grow. You can't get all bent out of shape because somebody says to you, you tend to, get a little...
What you about to say?
Well, like in the situation that I'm in now, like, and I've told him recently, well, I'm not in a situation now, but somebody that I was dating. And I said to him, you've gotten a lot better. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't really want to hear. You weren't really open to hearing constructive criticism. I said, it's almost like you want me to be there to just kind of listen and just, not really say to you, well, no, you could have done this better. Or I think that, in this instance, you could have rose above the occasion, whatever. But you got to be willing to be open.
So are you at the point where you're open now?
Oh, yeah, I've been open. Now I'm at the point where it's just about finding someone who's interested in partnering. You know what I'm saying? Because I think most people are honestly afraid of the vulnerability that comes with being in love. Like, I've been watching this show called Love is Blind on Netflix. Have you heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
You watched it?
I haven't watched it. I heard about the bisexual guy.
I know him. But that's all I'm going to say about that right here. But the show is really good because it's like, it really does show, and I talk again, and I'm not just trying to plug Book of Jewels, but there's a chapter in the book called Love and Fear. And in that chapter, I talk about how most people say they want love. Most people crave it. Most people want it. And they say, I just want somebody who, I can be open with and be honest with. And then when that shit shows up, your natural instinct, your natural reflex is to pull back because it's right there in your face. And it's like, but this is the thing that you said you wanted. But then as soon as it shows up, it's like it triggers your traumas. And then it brings up like your past experiences and your fears from that past experience. And so, really at this point in my life, I just feel like most people say they want a relationship, they want love, but then when it finally shows up and it's everything that you said you wanted, you really do kind of, sometimes, not always, sometimes people just pull away if you're not honest with yourself and willing to walk towards fear. Because that's really what it's about, is walking towards fear and not letting your past breakup or heartache inform.
Wait till my time comes. Wait till my time comes. Lord.
Anyway, on that note, everybody, please share this podcast. I always want you guys to share the podcast with your friends, your family, your network, your book club, or whomever. Just have a conversation around it. But we drop a brand new podcast each and every Monday morning at 10 a.m. It is free to subscribe. We're available for free on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. And while you're over there on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm Craig the Writer over there on YouTube. Be safe. Keep loving yourself. One of the best parts of life is when you can admit the truth to yourself about yourself. Cyberspace is a world where one can become something he isn't, but everything he dares to be. I wasn't interested in getting attached to anyone, and I knew I wouldn't take anyone I met online seriously. I had multiple screen names to increase my chances of meeting someone attractive. The majority of the profiles noted HIV negative under status, but I knew better from the work I had done in the HIV community. I knew 1 out of 3 black gay men was positive. The messages I found in my inbox validated me in my depression. In some strange way, they reinforced that I was worthy and deserving. My days consisted of waking up and logging on to see how many messages had accrued overnight. Months passed before I got honest with my therapist about what was happening with me. And before I knew it, I heard myself say, I've been having sex with people I meet online. To listen to more of Words Never Spoken in Memoir, visit audible.com. I was involved briefly with a married man who believed he had the courage to leave his wife to be with me, and
and to live his truth. This isn't the typical story of a married man promising to leave his wife for a secret lover. Rather, this is a story in part about a gay man who knew he was gay before he got married, but chose to marry a woman because he didn't know how to break free. Rocky and I met on a gay social media site 3 months after I returned to the East Coast to live, and just 11 months after he was married. At the time we met, he was living and working in Dubai as a contractor for the government on a military base, while his wife was stationed in Tallahassee, Florida, where they had a home. In one of the first messages he sent me, Rocky shared that he was married, but that he had regrets. He explained that he had come out to his mother and siblings when he was 18 years old. He sat them. To listen to more of One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure, a memoir continued, visit audible.com.